Jessica. A short story written by Rafi Al-Safra.
He was on his way out of the classroom when a soft voice behind him interrupted, "Sir, may I?" He stopped and turned toward the voice. There she was, a girl of 10 or 11, her hair braided into two short plaits hanging by her pleasant face. She asked permission with her sweet voice, but her eyes did not ask. He smiled at her and said, "Go ahead." She said, staring boldly into his face, "What country are you from?" A mischievous urge suddenly took hold of him. He replied, "Is that necessary?" But that did nothing to dampen her boldness. She spread her arms slightly, and her eyes questioned him in that enigmatic way. Then she said in a firmer tone, "You speak English perfectly, but you're not English." She left the question unfinished, hanging between her lips. He answered, confirming her suspicion, "No, I'm not English." She shrugged as if she were a bird about to take flight and then said with a faint smile fluttering across her cheeks, "So which country are you from?" He admired the girl's courage and determination to achieve her goal. He spoke to her without giving up his desire to maneuver, considering it part of the mission he had come for. "Have you heard of a city called Babylon?" She nodded with absolute certainty, though a look of astonishment flickered across her face. She said, "Yes, I know it, it's an ancient city, mentioned in the Torah and the Gospel." He replied as he began to walk away, "That's my city. I'm from Babylon." But the little girl was undeterred. She walked with him. To catch his attention again, she gently poked his arm and raised her voice, saying, "How can you be from Babylon when it is the city the Lord cursed and turned into a wasteland?" He stopped in his tracks, surprise gripping his feet, stunned by what he heard from a girl who hasn't yet emerged from her shell. He turned toward her. She was standing at his side, drawn to him and alert. Trying to piece together the picture beginning to form before his eyes, he asked, "May I know your name?" She answered in the same strong tone, "Jessica Hoffman." His second question took the girl by surprise, "Are you Jewish?" Jessica looked around before nodding, a hint of embarrassment on her face. She hurried to ask, stammering, "How did you know?" He looked into her eyes thoughtfully, smiling as he said, "Hoffman." Then he added, asking, "But where were you sitting in the class? Why didn't I see you there?" She raised her right arm as if pointing to a specific spot, then said, "The last row on the left." He said, recalling a particular image in his mind, "Ah, yes, you were hiding behind that big boy." She shook her head slowly and murmured, "Yes, Johnny." He said in a firm tone, feeling himself strangely and mysteriously drawn to the little girl, "Listen to me, starting from tomorrow, you'll sit in the front row so I can see you." This time he moved, confident that she would respond to his wish and that their conversation would end, or at least be postponed. But Jessica had a different view. To keep her prey in hand, she replied in a decisive tone, "I don't sit in the front row." That was enough to keep him riveted to her. A look of wide-eyed inquiry crossed his face as he asked, "Why?" She didn't hide her pleasure at having kept him with her. She said, "In the front row I'm in everyone's sight, and that makes it impossible for me to concentrate." He surrendered and turned her explanation over in his mind as he said, "All right, fine, but don't sit behind that big boy." Then, hurriedly, and unable to hide his pleasure at talking with the child, he added, "Now, will you let me go?" But Jessica didn't pay attention to his question. Her small head was apparently full of questions and riddles, and the new teacher was happy to answer and converse with her. She said, "But you didn't answer my question." He felt like laughing, but settled for a broad smile, inquiring, "Really? And what was your question?" "How can someone be from Babylon, when the city no longer exists on earth after God cursed it and wiped it out?" He recollected the old history books that said the Jewish scribes Nebuchadnezzar brought with him as captives from Israel after he destroyed Solomon's temple spent most of their time recording the stories of their prophets in what later became known as the Torah, or the Old Testament, their imaginations playing a large role in weaving miracles and myths, exaggerating them, and blending them with whatever facts they had about their prophets and deeds. I agree with you that the Babylon mentioned in the holy books no longer exists in reality, but another Babylon has emerged from the ruins of the ancient city. At that moment, the girl was looking at her teacher with admiration and eyes that sparkled with a strange glimmer. She finally said, I can say then that you are from the city where the Torah was written. He wished at that moment to take the child in his arms and plant a kiss on her cheek, but he didn't dare to do so, and he settled for saying, Jessica, you are really a wonderful girl. Jessica smiled at him and said, Thank you, Professor. I'll see you tomorrow in the classroom. Sofia, Bulgaria, March 1, 2019.